What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome back to another comic book video. This time we are going to jump over to DC Comics, where we are going to continue our coverage over the Reign of the Supermen storyline. We are going to cover two more chapters. We're going to cover Action Comics number 688 and Superman Man of Steel number 23. Remember that at this point in DC Comics, DC was trying to establish that these four Supermen were going to replace the original Superman. And so in this video, we're going to see what other heroes have to say about someone pretending to be Superman. Also, we learn a little bit more of Steel's past as well in this video. And so guys, I do hope you enjoy. Now, when it comes to Action Comics number 688, we pick up with Guy Gardner. Now, something to point out is that at this point in DC Comics is that Guy Gardner is not a Green Lantern. This was a weird time in DC Comics where DC was trying to rework the Green Lantern landscape. But for Guy Gardner, he was stripped of being a Green Lantern, but he was able to find Sinestro's old power ring from the early days in DC Comics and now has a yellow ring. And so he is somewhat a Yellow Lantern in a way. Now we pick up with him hearing about the news of Superman coming back from the dead. And for Guy Gardner, this should not even be possible. And so with him hearing the news of Superman being alive again, he decides to go back to Metropolis and see if it is true. Now the Superman he is going to meet is no other than the Eradicator. But before Guy Gardner gets the chance to fight against the Eradicator, we actually pick up with the Eradicator. Now remember, out of all the four Supermen, Eradicator is the one who is the most violent of them all. When it comes to him fighting against criminals, he had actually killed people off. And we pick up with him going after a bank robber. And when he confronts the bank robber, it does seem like he is going to kill the bank robber, except he does not, since the bank robber never killed anyone. But he does the second worst thing you can do to somebody. Where we come to find out that the Eradicator broke almost every single bone in the bank robber's body, leaving him unable to move in a hospital bed. Now we pick up with Lois Lane, and remember, her role in this storyline is trying to figure out more information about each of the new Supermen, which is why she is here at the hospital, because she is trying to learn more about the Eradicator and how she can find him. And she is also greeted by Cat Grant, who is another reporter like Lois Lane, but she is not important. Really, this section of the story is just used to remind us that Lois Lane is going to play detective mode throughout this whole story. Now we pick up with the Eradicator back at the Fortress of Solitude, and this is where we see he learns about the other three Supermen in Metropolis, which is Superboy, Steel, and Cyborg Superman. And so you have the Eradicator wanting to learn more about these other Supermen. Also, he feels like that these other Supermen could be making him look bad. But this is really him realizing that sooner or later he will have to deal with them if he wants to be the only Superman around Metropolis. Now we learned that the Eradicator is not the only person who is interested in all of the new Superman in Metropolis. This is where we pick up with Maggie Sawyer, and right now she's in charge of the Special Crime Unit. And they are a branch of Metropolis Police where they deal with extreme situations that a regular cop would be unable to handle. This is where we pick up with her getting a promotion, and also her boss Henderson is giving her a new case where he wants her and her special crime unit to look into the four new Supermen in Metropolis, which she agrees to do. Now we pick up with the Eradicator arriving back to Metropolis to do more work in the city. Now this is where he sees a building on fire and wondering what is going on. And so you have him go to inspect the fire, only to find out that it was a trap, and that trap was made by Guy Gardner. Remember that Guy Gardner does not believe that Superman is alive, and so he set this trap to see if this is really the real Superman. where you have Guy Gardner think that he is able to go toe to toe with the Eradicator. Now the Eradicator knows about Guy Gardner, is confused on why he's attacking him for, but of course you have Guy Gardner tell him why, except this fight does not really last that long, mainly because this is the Eradicator, who is an equal to Superman, and so you have the Eradicator send Guy Gardner flying across the city. Now while Guy Gardner was flying across the city, you had him land in the middle of a random gang hideout, and so with that happening, of course, you had the Eradicator fly over to where Guy Gardner landed, only to see this random gang holding guns. And for the Eradicator, if you are using guns in Metropolis for evil, well, he is going to make you pay for it. And so you had the Eradicator beat on these thugs so bad that for Guy Gardner, he starts to think that this is really Superman, or he's just scared of this Superman. And so you have Guy Gardner and the Eradicator agree on just staying out of each other's paths from this point on. In other words, Guy Gardner ran away scared like no other. But to close on this chapter of this event, we actually pick up with the Eradicator back at the Fortress of Solitude, where we see him actually feeling bad about what he has been doing for the last few days, being a more violent Superman, and now it seems like he might go in a different direction. With Superman Man of Steel number 23, this is another book where we pick up with John Henry, aka Steel, one of the new Superman in Metropolis. Now we pick up with this gang called Shark Enforcers, who are using the new gun that is on the streets, which is called Toastmaster. Now remember, we found out in Superman Man of Steel number 22 that Steel was the one who basically designed the weapons, except someone else took his designs and brought his weapon to life. And we learned that in a previous video, that someone named White Rabbit is the one who made the guns, and we do not know this person's real name just yet. Now we pick up with this gang trying to chase down Steel and hoping to kill him off, except Steel is able to take them down first, and so their plan of killing him off fails. But you have Steel ask another gang member about who is making the guns, except the gang member he asked is killed off before being able to give him an answer. This is where we jump over to Lex Luthor 2, and remember that at this point in DC Comics, this was supposed to be the son of Lex Luthor, because the first Lex supposedly died, except this is the real Lex pretending to be a son of himself. But we see here that Lex Luthor saw the news about Steel trying to hunt down this White Rabbit person who made the guns for gang members, and so Lex is also looking for her as well. But we actually pick up with White Rabbit herself, and we learn that she knows Steel is looking for her, but we learn that she also knows that Steel is John Henry, which is huge. But we see that she tells her henchmen to stop trying to protect her and let Steel figure out who she is and how to find her. She wants to talk to Steel face to face. Now we pick up with Lois Lane, and remember, her role in this arc is that she is trying to learn more about the 4 Supermen and where they came from. And so you have her at the Daily Planet continuing that role, except she gets word about how 2 gangs and Steel are fighting it out in a different part of Metropolis. And so of course you have her go check it out to see if it is true. And she takes a chopper to go look. This is where we pick up with Superboy, and remember, in our last video that Superboy signed some kind of deal with the GBS, the rival company to the Daily Planet, where they are trying to bring their ratings up by showing off Superboy fighting against crime. At the same time, Superboy is doing this because he loves the fame. Now he also flew to the same fight scene that Lois Lane flew to with his camera crew to continue to grow his fan base. Except when the gang members who still have these powerful weapons see him, they try to shoot at him, but he dodges. Except those attacks hit the chopper that Lois Lane was in and of course blows it up. Now she does jump out at the last second. This leads to Steel being able to save her from falling to her death. And this gives Lois Lane the first time to actually talk to Steel. Remember, Steel is the last person she has not talked to. And so you have Lois Lane ask him, why is he trying to replace Superman for? Except you have Steel give her a short answer, which is, he is not trying to replace Superman. Now you have Steel lecture Superboy about being more careful when he is out being a superhero. Now this is the first time you have Steel and Superboy meeting up, except this meetup is, like I said, it is more of Steel giving Superboy a lecture about being careful, because Superboy could have taken that blast earlier and then the Daily Planet chopper would have not blown up. And so you have Steel tells Superboy that he needs to be a better hero and actually care for other people around him. Now after Superboy leaves, you have Lex Luthor men come to meet up with Steel and tell him that Lex Luthor has information about who is behind making the guns and putting them on the streets. And so you have Steel meet up with Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor tells him where he can find the White Rabbit and tells him she has a penthouse in the middle of Metropolis. And so you have Steel leave and go to this penthouse. And we find out that Lex Luthor planted a bug on Steel so he can follow him and hopefully meet this White Rabbit himself as well. This is where you have Steel fly to the penthouse that Lex Luthor told him about. And we see that Steel confirms that there is some connection between him and the White Rabbit, because as soon as he walks into the room and sees her, he calls her by her real name, Angara Lappin. And this is where we learn that they used to be in love with one another. They met back when they both used to work for the military, and the goal was to make weapons for the military. And that is how the Toastmaster, the weapon the gangs have been using in the streets, came from. John Henry made it for the military first, except somehow his designs got out to other armies and small militias across the world. And so with that happening, John Henry stepped away from making more weapons, because as soon as his first designs got out, it led to the death of hundreds of innocent people. We also learned that the White Rabbit was the one who took his designs and built on his designs and made it better than it was back then, meaning that the weapons the gangs have now is an improved version. Now after we get that little flashback, we come to find out that White Rabbit was hoping that Steel would join her side since they used to work together. Of course, Steel says no. And with him saying no, she pulls out one of the Toastmasters and blasts him right out the window, which then leads to Steel flying into a gas tank, which of course catches on fire as soon as he lands in it. And so with that happening, you have Superboy overheard the explosion and also saw Steel flying across town by the blast from White Rabbit. And so you have Superboy go and pull out Steel out of the fiery pit. Now you have Superboy tell Steel that the reason why he was nearby was to tell Steel sorry for the way he acted earlier, that from now on he is going to act like a better superhero. And so you have Superboy and Steel become allies from this point on, except this leads into Steel and Superboy going back to the penthouse to see if they can find the White Rabbit, and of course she is gone now. And this is where the story is going to end for now. And so guys, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe for more comic book videos like this in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here and I will see you on the next comic book video. Later guys.